All right, so staying in college football, fresh out the press, you know what it is. It's the college football rankings. Now, listen, we're going to go ahead and slow down the anticipation because there wasn't no movement in the top seven. We do have a new 8, 9, and 10. 8 being Notre Dame, 9 being Oklahoma State, 10 being Wake Forest. And you know that big off that big win over Oklahoma, Baylor moved up to 11, and yeah, you got that right. Oklahoma slid all the way down to 13. So, with that said, what are your initial reactions on the brand new playoff rankings, Jay?
Well, yep, nothing new to see here in the top seven. So let me just I just want to go back to the point I made in the previous segment real quick. Look, I really think even though Oregon's got um, they got the head to head against Ohio State right now, as the season wanes, look, Ohio State they still going to play Michigan State and they still going to play Michigan. If and when they win those two games, I think the head to head thing is gonna they're gonna have to drop that to the wayside because the way Ohio State's playing right now and how impressive they look, Oregon don't look that. The Oregon, even though they're winning and they still taking care of their business, you gotta think at some point the Big Ten thing is gonna carry weight because Ohio State playing a superior conference. There can be no question about it. And those two wins, look, outside of beating Ohio State, if you look back at what Oregon's done, like I don't know if they have another game close to that to hang their hat on. So and not only that, again, going back, that was a week two game, young quarterback, second start. It didn't look all that smooth in the first two games. I just think in the end, they're going to look like the better team. And I think the committee will reward them for that at some point.
No, and not to cut you off, I agree with you, but I just think as of right now, you have to look. I mean, and you say, you know, you look at this, and I think the reason they're going to continue to get credit until Ohio State get that better win.
And
Because
that
right now,
and that
Oregon
might
had they got that better win,
and that
like
might be and that might be what they're waiting for. Maybe they're waiting for at least one of those two Michigan wins that we think
right.
we're going to see. That might be what they're waiting for. So I'm not just mad. I'm not terribly mad. I'm just saying I think that's something that we're going to see if things keep progressing as they are, and all these teams at the top keep winning. Look, it does appear that look, I think the top two come down to the SEC title game. I think if Bama wins it, both of them get in. Obviously, if you're a fan of another conference, you don't want to see that because that's two SEC teams taking up two slots, and then that means not only one but two major conferences going to get left out. Which no one's going to complain about the ACC getting left out because they are. It's Wake Forest. I don't care where they are. They're not getting in. I'm sorry, not happening. But I am. Look, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I think you might laugh at me, but so be it. I'm going to make a case for a team for the Big 12, and I can't believe I'm doing this because I know as soon as I do this, they're going to flop around and let us down. But listen, Oklahoma State, they're at 9 right now. They still got Tech. They get Texas Tech. They're going to take care of them. Then they get Oklahoma. Then they get the Big 12 title game. They win those 3 games. They're going to be what? They should be 12-1, I believe. Look at who's in front of them. Notre Dame. If Oklahoma State wins all these games, they will jump Notre Dame. They will jump them
Right.
no matter what they do.
Okay.
Michigan State and Michigan, if it's going to progress the way we think it is, they will both lose again. So Oklahoma State's going to jump them. Oklahoma State's going to jump Cincinnati because Cincinnati's not going to have anything better than Oklahoma State's win against Oklahoma.
And
Now,
that's where the buck stopped.
well, the only other thing they would need, I think they
It's for
would need
Alabama to lose.
Alabama or Oregon. I don't think it's out of the question that Oregon could drop another game somehow. I mean, we saw it recently in the Pac-12 title game. That was Utah. Utah lost to Oregon. But look, the Pac-12, I think, not that Oregon might get it done this year, but the Pac-12 has been known to disappoint people. So I'm saying, I think I'm not blaming you for dismissing the Big 12 after Oklahoma lost. I'm not. I'm just saying I think there is a path for Oklahoma State. They do need a little bit of help, but if they win all their games, they will jump Notre Dame and Cincinnati just because their resumes will be better. Michigan and Michigan State, and look, even if Michigan, let's just say Michigan and Michigan State wins out. Well, that means Ohio State loses. So two of these Big Ten teams are going down because they're just not, look. Even if either way, there's only going to be one Big Ten team left standing, and then so two out of those three Big Ten teams will drop with 2 losses. So it's close. Look, if you get down to, listen, Georgia, Bama, Oregon, Ohio State, and Oklahoma State, all they need is for Georgia to beat Alabama or Oregon to drop a game. And I don't think that's a crazy scenario. Plus, if you look at what they've done recently, I know they lost to Iowa State on the road, but don't forget, I don't think that's going to be looked at as an awful loss because that was a preseason top 10 team. So, I mean, I don't know how the committee will judge that, but by the eye test, look, if you compare what they've done recently to say what Oklahoma did against some of these teams, I'm talking about Kansas, I'm talking about TCU, and I'm talking about West Virginia. Oklahoma was flopping up and down the field with all these, especially Kansas and West Virginia. Like those games came down to the wire pretty much. Oklahoma State blasted all these teams. If they continue on that path, if they blast Texas Tech, and I think they need to be impressive against Oklahoma, the committee's I think they're gonna look at them quite favorably. Plus, we criticize the Big 12 for not playing defense. Oklahoma State does play defense. I think Oklahoma State's an interesting team when you talk about the Final Four. It's somewhat of a long shot, but I do see a path. I'm gonna tell you, Cincinnati, I don't see it right now. I think you'd have to have a boatload of 2-loss teams, and I don't think we're gonna get enough of them. So even though it hurts me to say it, because I'd like to see Cincinnati get in, but I don't think they don't have enough stop. Just because of the whole group of 5, and it would just feel good. It'd feel good to see the little guy finally get in. But like you say, I agree with you. They haven't been impressive enough. Not enough style points, so I don't think they get in. And I think Notre Dame's not going to have enough they're not going to have a good enough. Their resume won't look as strong as Oklahoma State's. So I don't think it's crazy. But outside of that, those are really, if you look at it right now, at teams that control their own destiny, it's the top 4. It's Michigan, Michigan State. Oklahoma State still needs a little bit of help, but it's a really limited pack as we head down the stretch. I'm not going to spend no time talking about Texas, San Antonio, and Mississippi State. Mississippi State don't do this shit every week, I guess. Where they just, they end one week and out the next week. That's what they've been doing. That's what they've been doing. Anyway, over to you.
Listen, look, I'm going straight to Cincinnati. You bet your ass I'm not. Listen, my problem with Cincinnati is because when we look at Cincinnati, we got a real college basketball feel to this. The Cinderella that gets a shot. This ain't college basketball, man. This is an alpha male business. These guys are hidden. And I'm sorry, that sounds good in theory. Hey, let's get Cincinnati in here. Oh, yeah, Cincinnati. What a story.
I said it's not happening.
But my hide gets chapped a little bit when people keep trying to convince, well, every team should be equal. How? Every team's not.
I definitely didn't say that.
No, you didn't. But how?
Yeah.
Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, they go to stadiums that fit 100,000 people. They go on the road crowd that got at least 55,000 people going against them. 70,000 people.
And that's definitely the point where these conferences are certainly not created equal. I think that's the larger point.
That's a fact. Now, to the Big 12, that's going to help them. That would alleviate people like me from saying,
yes,
what have they done?
Right.
What have they done? But as far as this season go look at Cincinnati's schedule and just tell me if Alabama or Oregon or Ohio State would have played their schedule, how you think it would have played out? And how much you would have criticized each one of those teams Had they played a close game against, I don't know, Navy? Come on, man. I got it. They're undefeated. The games gotta matter. The results gotta matter. Yes, have fun at the Fiesta Bowl. Have fun at get you some of that Rose Bowl action. I don't know, but when we talk about the college football playoffs, no. I would rather see Wake Forest than Cincinnati. I'm gonna keep it real.
Oh,
I would rather see Wake Forest. I am.
I'm not.
Yeah, I am. I surely am. I believe Wake Forest and Cincinnati on a neutral field. I'm taking Wake Forest. Say what you want, but at least I can say Wake Forest have played some teams that have got some teams I don't have to Google. Like Cincinnati out here playing these group of men. I got it. That's what conference they're in. You South Florida? You fucking around with South Florida? Go look at their record. Come on, man. Come on, man. Like listen. Everybody want to gripe and complain about Alabama being number 2. They want to gripe and complain about Oregon not playing well. Alabama didn't play well against SEC talent. Oregon didn't play well against Pac-12 talent. Ohio State didn't play well against Pac-12 talent. Cincinnati didn't play well against ACC talent. Like, you take away the 2 Power 5 games, and by the way, those weren't the cleanest wins, but we give Cincinnati credit because they're Cincinnati and they went against Indiana and Notre Dame, so we got to give them credit, right? Okay, cool. But if any of those other teams in front of them would have when they played Notre Dame or Indiana the way they played them, we saying something totally different. We're saying something totally different. Oh, we didn't like the way they didn't look too hot. They didn't look too good.
I think the fact that Indiana is so bad really hurts them. Because last year Indiana was like they looked like the second
surprise team.
Surprise, and I think they were the best, by my eyes, they were the best Big Ten team after Ohio State. So that maybe like in a preseason type setting, like, oh man, that's a win. Maybe that can help them. The Notre Dame win absolutely helps them. But like, I think they definitely need, in addition to like not playing well enough in conference, Indiana being awful this year definitely does not help them.
So I don't know. I just get a little chapped because I just people like want to raid the pom poms for Cincinnati, but you want to hold this against the Power 5 teams. Like you can't do that. Hold them to the same standard. If you think they belong in there with the big boys, then we should be getting big boy results. That's all I'm saying. And I think that's fair. If you think they should be in there with the big boys, they should be out here housing Navy 59-3 or something. Like. Show us you deserve to be in the big boy status. I don't like it. If you're saying they should be in the top 2.
In regard, the one thing I'll say on the Wake Forest point to Cincinnati, I'm just not certain how much better the ACC is than the AAC. I mean that. I think the ACC is better, but I don't think, like, when you talk about the SEC and Big Ten, no doubt about it. Like, Cincinnati, I don't think there's I don't think on a neutral field, like, Cowherd always says, no way. But, like, the ACC teams, I don't know about that. I take Cincinnati against Wake Forest. I would.
And hey, listen. And if that game was to happen, I'll be willing to put a wager on it. Either way,
maybe that's the bowl. Maybe that's the bowl we'll get.
Maybe that's the bowl we'll get, and we'll see how they go. We could put some drinks on that. Non-alcoholic drinks, that is. But with that said, like I said, man, after 7, it's bleak for me. Notre Dame, they're not a contender. You made a good point about Oklahoma State, so I have to be, objective and say, all right, let's see how this play out. That wasn't a bad scenario. I gotta give you your flowers. That was okay. I didn't want to hear it. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want to hear it at all. But you made a good point. I'll ride with that. I stick a pin in that. We'll come back to that later. Wake Forest, like I'm in here talking this trash about Wake Forest. I do believe what I'm saying about them in Cincinnati, but that's where the buck stopped. I'm not. No, we ain't doing that. No, they ain't beating Michigan or Michigan State in my eyes. I just don't think they could. I think Both of those teams will take care of them, and I know for a fact all 4 of those teams that's currently in the playoffs take care of that action. So I'm talking greasy, but that's how I feel about that. I want to hit a little bit on 11 through 25. Ole Miss, like I said, I don't know who the hell that Ole Miss team was. I was watching play Saturday. They played some defense. Very good win against Texas A&M. I was kind of blown away with that. Listen, you made this point. Wisconsin is playing better football, and it seems like they will be the team that's on the other side of that bracket when the Big Ten championship, when the dust settles. We don't know who's going to be Ohio State, Michigan, or Michigan State, however, but I think confidently we can say Wisconsin is most likely going to be the opponent on the west side of the bracket. Is that what it is?
Big Ten West, yeah.
Okay, so that's a good listen. They're not going to make the playoffs. But, if they keep winning, play a competitive game in the Big 12, I think we could pencil them in for the Rose Bowl as long as the Rose Bowl is not a playoff game. I think they could be the Big Ten representative.
That's another thing. Like, the thing about Wisconsin, and I don't see it happening, especially if they meet Ohio State, but they could play – I mean, they'll have a chance to play spoiler in the Big Ten title game. They could – I mean, the Big Ten don't want to see this, but they could knock the Big Ten out of the playoff in that game.
That's not a bad thought. That's not a bad thought. Oof. It reminds me of the old Big 12 back in the day. Then, Texas A&M, a team that I thought was going to, have a good chance to finish the season in the top 10. They went out there and dropped the ball against Ole Miss, and, Ole Miss showed they was the better team. So I do think Texas A&M still good. They beat my boys, so I got to, show them some respect. And then once we get to 19, then we start having fun with all these Group of 5 teams. San Diego State, UTSA, Houston. Like, this UTSA crap. That's okay, I'm going to stop being a Power 5 homer because that's what I'm sounding like. But either way, like, it's just like they're undefeated. If that's all you can give me, man, I'm sorry. It's going to be very hard for me to buy into the team. If you can't give me anything better than they're undefeated, okay, let me look at that schedule. Maybe Mississippi State down there at the bottom could have went undefeated too with that schedule. Maybe it's some unranked teams I could look at that Tennessee can go undefeated with the schedule. So the undefeated thing is a lot. It's very, very overrated. The only undefeated team I care about is Georgia. Why? Because Georgia playing top. They're playing the top talent week in and week out. Take out of their little cupcake games. I ain't talking about the cupcake games. But when they play in the Power 5 teams, that's top tier talent week in and week out. That's a real undefeated record. This crap I'm looking at with Cincinnati and UTSA, I'm sorry, but let's call a spade a spade.
At least with like teams like UTSA and Houston, like, I mean, they're at the UTSA, not Houston, but they're at the back. They're at the back of the top 25. So like, I mean, they're nowhere close to like anything special. So and they are like, you talk about like the game's got to matter. They're undefeated. They are in between like 2-3 loss Power 5 teams. So I think that's something like, just put them in there. We know it's not serious. Just like the teams, they're in between. They're not serious either at this point. We can say that. But I do get your point. Like, look, and this is something we've known since the playoffs started. Like, we saw it with Central Florida. Central Florida went through the same thing like that Cincinnati is going through right now. I guess the other thing about Cincinnati, I find them to be a bit more likable because they're not so loud. I mean, I can't imagine, like, Cincinnati's not going to go out here and, like, put up signs and say, oh, we the real champs and all this bull crap, I guess that's another reason why I'm, like, somewhat sympathetic to Cincinnati. But, yeah, absolutely. Like, the whole conference thing, it matters. And also, like, I think it'll be nice to see these AAC teams go to the Big 12. It's still going to, as we project, though, it's still going to be an uphill battle because the Big 12 is going to be likely the weakest Power 5 conference at that point when you talk about losing Oklahoma and Texas to a lesser degree. So it's still going to be an uphill battle, but at least they'll have a better chance. I think it still might be the same thing. They'll have to be undefeated in the future to have a shot.